Hey, how you doing here? It's Dave Duford here at buylifeinsuranceforburial.com, where I help people like you find affordable burial insurance for yourself or for somebody you love. And the purpose for today's video is to describe to you how what kind of carriers you should be aware of in your search for burial insurance, and which ones specifically you should avoid. So the one thing I'm going to clarify here as we get started, this video is particularly designed for consumers who are concerned about getting a plan to pay for their final expenses, specifically their burial or their cremation or any kind of basic final expenses. This isn't necessarily designed for somebody who's looking for life insurance. So the thoughts and opinions in this video are specific to that particular type of person. This isn't something that I would recommend to all people necessarily, but for the crowd out there, typically 50 and older, that just wants enough to take care of final expenses because typically being on a fixed income, they feel like they don't have enough. This is where my opinions would be the most relevant. So look, I know you guys get all sorts of junk mail, certainly see TV ads multiple times a day, and if anything, there's confusion, right? You see all sorts of advertisements, and they certainly sound good when you're listening to them, but then again, it's questionable as to really what is the best for you. So the goal of this video is to kind of dispel some of the myths or concerns that you may see, and really get down to what I would imagine, or what I would call the fine print of these burial insurance companies. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we have to recognize is that the act of dying, while guaranteed, is never for sure as to when it's going to happen. So when you're unsure that when it's going to happen, but you know it will happen, then there's a definite case to be made for coverage that is what we call permanent. It's not designed to cancel at a later date. It will be with you no matter the circumstances. Why is this important? Well, it's important because there's a lot of companies out there that you see every single day in the mail that offer a very competitively priced product that is what's called term insurance. Now, term insurance, again, this description is not saying whether it's good or bad, but to let you arrive at your own conclusions based on how the particular plan works without trying to hide it in the fine print. The way term insurance works, the easiest way to describe it is that it's temporary or terminating insurance. It is designed to cancel at a particular date in the future. So, for example, there's a company that is marketed towards retired people that starts with an A. You may know who I'm talking about. They also sell other things besides life insurance, car insurance, other products as well, and they position themselves as an advocate for seniors. The problem, however, is that the products that they endorse, they don't actually sell it. They're not an insurance company, but the products they endorse are designed what I would imagine to be counterintuitive to the actual purpose of why one would even buy a burial insurance plan. So more specifically, getting down to brass tacks, these plans are what's called term insurance. And the way these are specifically designed is that they cancel usually at 80 years old, and they have 5-year incremental increases as you age. So imagine yourself buying something, being on a fixed income. You're not made of money. You're retired after all. You are fixed, as they say, and you know what that means if you are. And you have a price increase. You bought it at 65, now you're 70, and your price doubles. Imagine yourself trying to pay that along with your other bills, because it's not just this particular insurance that's going to go up, it's other products that you buy and own too, right? I mean, your electricity bill goes up, your car payments may go up if you buy a new car or something like that. So there's always these people grabbing at your check every month. And the last thing you need is one more service that will try to do the same thing. Now, to add insult to injury, you make it to 80. You may not be in perfect shape. You may be in perfect shape. But no matter the problem, no matter the circumstance, at 80, they outright cancel you. So you literally, after all these years of paying dutifully, religiously, diligently every month, you have nothing when you probably most need it. And now that you're going to go back out in the market to buy a new insurance plan, well, now you're stuck paying an exorbitant amount of money, much more than if you had taken out a permanent insurance plan earlier on in your life. So again, the reason this is important is because the bottom line here is that you want to buy a burial insurance product that matches the actual need of what it is that you're wanting. Okay, you don't want to go into an insurance where you may outlive it and basically send a lot of cash to your insurance company and have nothing to show for it. I have endless stories of people where this has happened. I had one lady who in her late 50s took out a term insurance plan. She's paying $60 a month. It was reasonable for her. She worked. I met her at 83 years old. She was referred to me. And she just had open heart surgery. And she had one of these other plans where at 70, she had incremental annual increases. This one canceled at 90, but they just stacked the increases on later in life. And at 83, for what she had in coverage, instead of paying $60 a month, she was paying $300 a month. No joke. Now, this wasn't a problem up to this point because the lady was working in a dry cleaner like 20, 30 hours a week at like 83. But she had this open heart surgery. Her life changed dramatically. And now she didn't have the disposable income to pay for it. So she had to let the policy go. She was in a position where she didn't have coverage. And now when she's going to go out and try to get the right kind of insurance, the permanent coverage that doesn't do this garbage to you, now she's going to be almost completely uninsurable. And if she is insurable with the heart surgery so frequent in the past, it's going to be through the roof. And that's the problem here, is that you don't want to end up in this position. And what's sad about this whole thing is these companies, they hide this stuff from you. It's if you read their sales literature, boy, it sounds good and it's definitely affordable. But they know exactly where to place the coverage goes up every 5 years, or the rates increase, or the coverage cancels at 80. They know how to bury this inside the actual paragraphs and words of the sales literature that you get in the mail all the time. So you're not privy to see it right up front. And more times, myself, other agents that I train and work with can tell you the same thing. When people are shown this, they're livid, they're shocked, and they're angry. But people keep buying it, and you just have to come to the conclusion that the reason they do is because they don't know what they're really getting into, because these companies are experts at not hiding it so much, but burying it away so it's harder to come across. You have to literally read each word line by line to catch this stuff, and most people don't. And even the way they word it sometimes sounds like it's going to be good, but then if you really read into it, you find out what I've just described is what you have. So my general opinion is if you're concerned about burial insurance coverage, stay away from term insurance. We don't know when we're going to die, and there's plenty of evidence to show the average person's living well past 80. Even in bad health, people tend to survive and hold on with the treatment that's available, the medication. It's only getting better, and people are going to live a long life. I don't know if you would call that a quality life. That's a totally another subject, of course. But the point being is high quality or low quality. Once you pass 80 with a lot of these term plans, you're just out in the dust. So you want to stay away from them. The second kind of plan you want to avoid is what I would call a guaranteed acceptance life insurance plan. So now sometimes, as I'll get into, this is the only option. However, from a starting position, you want to avoid this, and here's what I mean. So if you've watched TV, if you're watching Gunsmoke or an old Western, or you're watching The Price is Right, you're eventually going to be shown an ad where a celebrity, this guy is a host on a game show, you've seen him for years, comes on and says, we offer guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance, the price never goes up, coverage never goes down, you can't be canceled because of age or health. If you got a pulse, you can get coverage. Call us up right now. It's $9.99 a unit or whatever they say. Sounds pretty reasonable and convincing. Well, so here's the problem here with the fine print. You see, guaranteed acceptance simply means they don't ask you anything about your health, right? So they're not going to ask you anything about your diabetes or your high blood pressure, COPD, heart history issues, cancer, whatever. And that might be the reason it's appealing to you. But there's always a consequence to when something sounds too good to be true. And here's the consequence. With guaranteed acceptance life insurance plans, you literally have no natural death coverage for the first 2 full years that you have the policy. So picture this. You take a plan out. You're in good shape. Let's say you're in good shape. You don't think you're going to die. Maybe you find this out and you don't care. You take it out. Well, 6 months later, you get diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. and the doctor gives you 6 months to live. You die in 3. Well, now your family, which depended on you to make the right decision for as far as your final expense coverage goes to collect on what they think is a $10,000 plan, but they only receive back the premiums you paid in. That's exactly how these policies work. And again, why do so many people buy these plans? It's because, simply put, these companies are very effective at burying the specifics and the fine print in their sales literature so that you're just dazzled by their salesmanship and how great it looks and all these happy people and their kids happy with them on advertisements, and it sounds extremely convincing, but they're trying to distract you from what really matters, which is the fine print. Of course, that's what it all comes down to. So I mentioned a second ago that sometimes this is the best choice. So, a lot of people do have health ailments that cannot be insured with anything better than a 2-year waiting period. This is where I would go as far as a last-ditch effort, a trump card. When nothing else works, pick this particular product because really it truly is the best choice. But I wouldn't go to that point until I tried to find other products that give you first day full coverage. What you want to do as a consumer is preferentially work with a broker or somebody who is going to shop the most competitive carriers that are available in your state to offer you not just a good price. That's just one half of the coin here. The other half, the other side of the coin, is you want a company that will hopefully give you the best value of coverage, optimally first day full coverage. A lot of people I deal with as a broker myself are afraid that their health is going to disqualify them, so that they're going to be in this position where, oh man, I've got diabetes, or I've had cancer, I've had heart problems, I'm not going to get first day full coverage. And they just are, that fear is what pushed them into the direction of, well, I'll settle for the worst thing, which usually is these 2-year waiting period products. Here's the thing, guys, that's not normally the case. Brokers, good brokers, represent 5 to 10 companies, and what they can do is take your health information, plug it into their knowledge base, and then pull out an option or two to attempt to try to get you full coverage. I've had all sorts of people who, what most on the outside would deem uninsurable, who have been completely insured first day full coverage. A couple examples. I've had people with heart ailments, irregular heart rhythms, histories of heart attacks, open heart surgery, pacemakers, cancer history of all kinds of cancer. As long as it's been resolved after a period of time, we can get you first day coverage. Even lung disease like COPD and emphysema, that we can get first day full coverage in most circumstances. Also neurological problems like lupus and neuromuscular diseases, mental health issues, bipolar, schizophrenia. These are all conditions that really truly can be fully covered from the first day. Now, of course, the combination of issues does make an impact, and optimally the best thing you can do is talk to an insurance agent who is a broker like myself to take your unique situation to see what your options would be. But you get the idea here, I hope, is that you don't want to settle for the worst thing available until you give it an honest college try to see what other options there are out there. You owe it to yourself and certainly the people who would have otherwise been responsible for paying for your burial if you hadn't gone out and bought coverage. The last thing I'll say about this is that we don't know when our final day is going to be. That's why it's so important to be fully protected from the first day, right? For example, one gentleman I was referred to, he lives down in Albany, Georgia, 85 years old. Took out a lot of life insurance. He was financially capable to do it. He wanted to leave some money behind to people he loved. And this was about 2 years ago. And 6 months later, right around Christmas, he died from, I think, some sort of heart ailment. And was in the position where, because he took out a plan that was fully covered with me, that we paid the entire death claim out to his loved ones. And the reason I bring this up is that when I sat down with this man, I've been doing this a long time, there was no way in my mind I thought this gentleman was going to die anytime soon. But that's just the case. Unhealthy people die, and healthy people die too. We just don't know when it's going to be. So you have to not take chances when it comes to insurance. And you've got to do something great and lock in something that will give you the best deal that you can find. So don't settle for less. Get yourself something that's going to do a good job, not just on the budget, but also for yourself and your family God forbid something happens outside of your imagination and earlier than expected. The last point I'll bring up here, as far as the third point and what companies to beware, is really kind of more not specific to a company, but to a type of sales approach. You want to be careful. I've talked about brokers, and I've defined what a broker is, which is people and agents who sell multiple final expense carriers to their clients. The concept behind that is to get the best deal for the client on coverage and price. Now, the opposite of that is what we call a captive agent or a one carrier company. There's a lot of agents out there who only represent one company. Now, on the surface, you may be saying, well, how can this be an issue? Well, here's the thing. Very commonly in the final expense insurance business, those that sell one company tend to sell companies that either A, don't have the most flexible underwriting, or B, in most circumstances, have actually the highest prices, or they're in the top of the highest prices range. And so the outcome that you may experience when dealing with a one carrier agent is you'll either A, if you're insurable, yeah, you'll get insured, but at an exorbitant price for not as much coverage as you need. And then number two, you may be forced into one of these guaranteed acceptance or 2-year waiting period plans when you otherwise don't have to. I work with agents across the country. You might have noticed seeing my other videos. I talk about training these agents and helping them help more people out like yourself. I recruited one agent recently who worked for one of these companies that only sells one product at a high price. And the reason that he switched over is he really cares about his clients. He wants to get them the best deal. He wants to find the companies that are good, but also provide valuable coverage for their clients. And what he was realizing the first couple of months in the business is he would run into people with health problems. And all he could offer these people were a 2-year waiting period product. And as he and I discussed more, there was opportunity over the many people he saw to get them fully covered with other carriers that had better underwriting. And what this helped him dawn upon is that if you don't do your job as an agent, you're really underserving your clients. You're not doing the best by them. And so you have to ask yourself as an agent, is this really what I should be doing? And are you, the client, getting the best deal? And there's a lot of agents out there like that. And they're very hard in many cases. They won't tell you right up front that they're a broker. They'll tell you they represent X or Y company, and they'll tell you the reasons it's great, but they won't, again, very much like the literature we talked about earlier, they won't reveal these kind of particular instances of concerns of which you should have a concern about. Best way to ask, or best way to get around that, is ask to see which companies they represent. If you deal with an insurance agent face-to-face about burial insurance, they should be able to show you the multiple companies that they have that they're offering. They should be able to rattle off the names and the cities that they're in and why they work with them off the top of their head instantly. If you don't get that, it's very likely you're dealing in a situation where the bias is angled towards the agent, not towards you. And at the end of the day, the way I look at it at least, is this is a client-driven business. My job is to help my client get satisfactory, well above satisfactory coverage that gives the best value of coverage at the best price, because I want to keep you as a client. I want to make sure you're happy, and I do not want to be in a position where if you do die, knowing what I know, that you've died without coverage where you could have gotten it from somebody else. I don't see how agents knowingly can do that, but they do in this business, and they choose to go down this one carrier path at your at disadvantage. It's horrible, but it's what happens, and that's why I train agents to do multiple carriers and to be independent, to be a broker, because the client is, at the end of the day, what matters and what keeps our business going daily. And that's how we become successful in this business. So all said and done, these are the 3 things you should be aware of. The first being term insurance companies that cancel. The second being guaranteed acceptance companies that only give you 2 years before you're fully covered. And third, agents that sell one company and one company only that will ultimately give you poor coverage and or poor pricing. If you want to get the best options for coverage, if you want a fair price, a competitive price on your burial life insurance, then my request to you would be give me a call. I can shop the major carriers no matter where you're at and tell you exactly what companies would work best for your particular circumstances. It's very easy to reach me. My number is 888-626-0439, or you can go to my website at buylifeinsuranceforburial.com. Check out my blog post. I've covered a lot of different health ailments that we can cover. If you're concerned about what you can do, you can send me a message if you prefer to communicate that way. I do hope that you learn a few lessons about life insurance as it relates to burial insurance, and to help you narrow down your search for quality coverage for either yourself or for someone you love. So you guys have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.